Value your time. It is not infinite. In a village hidden among ancient pine trees, there lived a young monk named Kenji. He was known for his skill with brush and ink, able to capture the essence of a cherry blossom in a single stroke. However, Kenji had a flaw. He believed that time was as abundant as the leaves in the forest, that his youth was a bottomless well from which he could draw water forever. One day, his master, the wise Kaido, asked him to paint the flow of a river. Kenji, confident, sat down with his Zen brush, his inkwell, and a large scroll of silk. But instead of starting, he got distracted, chatting with other monks, watching a bird fly, and finally, falling asleep under the shade of a tree. When he woke up, the sun was already setting. Desperate, he dipped his brush to begin, but the inkwell was dry. He had wasted all the ink on trifles, and now he had not a single drop left for his work. Master, Kenji lamented, the inkwell has emptied. I cannot paint the river. Master Kaido, with a deep gaze, approached and pointed to the empty inkwell. Kenji, he said in a soft but firm voice, time is like the ink in your inkwell. If you don't value and manage it well, it will dry up. It is not infinite. The master's words echoed in Kenji's heart like the ringing of a bell. He understood that every moment was a precious drop of ink, and that if he didn't use it with intention, his life would become an unfinished work. From that day on, he dedicated himself to improving his time management and living every moment with full awareness, seeking discipline and personal growth. Master Kaido, seeing Kenji's transformation, smiled. He decided to put him to a new test, this time to deepen the meaning of patience and attention. Kenji, he said one morning, paint the reflection of the moon on the surface of a pond. Kenji, remembering the lesson of the empty inkwell, took his brush with renewed seriousness. He went to a nearby pond and sat in silence, waiting for the moon to rise. Unlike last time, he was not distracted. He observed the water, the lotus leaves floating, and the soft murmur of the crickets. The moon appeared, large and silver, and its reflection was drawn in the stillness of the water. But every time Kenji prepared to paint, a light breeze ruffled the surface of the pond, distorting the image. Frustrated, he tried to rush, but only achieved shapeless strokes. He felt tempted to get angry at the wind, at the pond, and even at himself. The master, who had been observing him from a distance, approached again. The moon is always there, Kenji, he explained. Your impatience is like a rock falling into the pond, creating ripples that prevent you from seeing the reflection. You cannot control the wind, but you can control your mind. Kenji then understood that time must not only be valued but also respected, that some things cannot be rushed. The art of patience was as important as discipline. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and waited. When the breeze calmed and the moon's reflection became perfect again, his brush, with a single, serene stroke, captured the image with a beauty that only patience could create. Time passed, and Kenji became a respected young monk for his wisdom and the serenity of his works. One day, a rich and hurried merchant came to the village, asking for a masterpiece that captured the essence of the sea, but he wanted it by the next day. Time is money, the merchant told Kenji. I will pay you whatever you ask, but the work must be ready by tomorrow at dawn. Kenji, with an unshakable calm, refused. My art is not measured in coins, and haste only produces empty strokes. Come back in a year, and if the work is ready, it will be yours. The merchant scoffed and left angrily. A year later, he returned, thinking Kenji had forgotten his request. He found the monk sitting in front of a single sheet of paper, on which there was a single grain of sand. The merchant was outraged. What is this? He shouted. A year for a single grain of sand? Kenji motioned for him to come closer and look at the grain carefully. The merchant, tilting his head, saw not just the grain of sand, but a universe of details within it. The light of a star, the outline of a mountain, the force of a wave. He realized that this tiny grain of sand contained the essence of time, patience, and the immense sea. Each moment is like this grain of sand, Kenji explained. If you rush to grab the next one without valuing the one you hold in your hand, you will lose the immensity that each one contains. The merchant, ashamed, understood that his obsession with speed had blinded him to the true richness of life. He apologized and left, transformed by the lesson of a single grain of sand. The lesson that valuing time is about finding eternity in every moment. Master Kaido, seeing that Kenji was no longer just a talented monk but a man of true wisdom, decided to retire to meditate on the mountaintop. Before leaving, he gave Kenji one last, enigmatic task: walk the path of the butterflies and do not disturb them. When you find the end, you will know the meaning of my departure. Kenji accepted the challenge with humility. The path was beautiful and winding, full of flowers of all colors. And, as the master had said, it was populated by butterflies with bright, fragile wings. At first, Kenji moved with careful steps, conscious not to step on them or frighten them. However, as the hours passed, impatience began to grow inside him. The path was long, and his mind urged him to walk faster. In his haste, he stumbled and, as he got up, he saw that he had damaged the wings of a butterfly. He stopped, feeling a deep remorse. The master had not asked him to reach a destination, but to travel the path without causing harm. The true purpose was not to reach the end, but to enjoy and respect every step. He understood that his life and his time were that path, that every person, every being, and every moment were like a butterfly that should be valued and treated with the utmost care. Haste and lack of attention only caused pain and lost opportunities. When he finally reached the end of the path, there was no treasure or scroll, only the peace that comes from full awareness and the profound understanding that time is not a means to an end, but the end itself. Kenji, now the new master, sat under an old, gnarled tree that rarely bore flowers or fruit. His disciples approached him, seeking his wisdom. One of them, a young monk named Hiroki, was constantly worried about the future. "Master," he said, "I have no time to meditate or contemplate. There are always so many tasks to do, and I fear I will not be able to fulfill my duties before winter comes." Kenji listened patiently, and then pointed to the leafless tree above their heads. "Look at this tree, Hiroki. It does not worry about the leaves it does not have, nor does it lament the fruit it will not bear. It simply is, and in its being, it finds its own beauty and purpose. It does not rush to give flowers in summer or to take root in autumn. It knows that each season has its own rhythm and its own essence." The young Hiroki understood the lesson. The worry about the future robbed him of the present, and the anxiety about the time he lacked prevented him from appreciating the time he had. Kenji taught him that time is not an enemy to be defeated, but a companion to be honored. True wisdom lies in living the now, in flourishing in the present moment, no matter what season of life one is in. Kenji, over the years, became a legend. It was said that his words were like water that quenches thirst, and that his presence was as serene as the stillness of the night. One day, a famous warrior, known for his impetuosity and quick victories, appeared before him. The warrior was in a hurry, for he had to conquer a distant kingdom in the shortest possible time. "Master," he said to the monk, "I need advice on how to defeat my enemy. Tell me how I can be faster, how I can end this war in a week." Kenji did not answer with words, but led the warrior to a dark and silent cave. Inside, he struck two stones together, producing a sharp, clear sound. The echo of the strike resonated again and again in the depths of the cave, lasting much longer than the original sound. The sound of the stones lasted only an instant, but the echo, the memory of that sound, remains, Kenji explained. Your victories may be quick and ephemeral, like the striking of the stones. But true strength and true victory reside in the echo you leave in time, in the lasting impact of your actions. Do not focus on speed, but on meaning. Time is not just for conquering, but for building a legacy that endures. The warrior, hearing these words, lowered his head. He understood that his obsession with speed was hollow. He understood that true victory was not in the speed with which he ended his war, but in the lasting peace he could create with his actions. Kenji, now an old man with hair as white as snow, sat one afternoon by a windmill. A younger monk, new to the village, approached him. He was frustrated because he felt his life was not moving forward. No matter how much he worked, he felt he had no clear purpose. "Master," he complained, "time passes and I am still here, spinning around without meaning, like the blades of this mill. I have no direction. I cannot find a purpose." Kenji looked intently at the windmill, whose blades turned gently in the rhythm of the breeze. "Look at the mill, my son," he said with his serene voice. "Its blades spin ceaselessly, but they do not do so without purpose. They capture the wind, an invisible and fleeting force, and transform it into energy that grinds the grain and feeds the whole village. What seems to your eyes like a meaningless turn is in reality a process of transformation." The young monk understood. Time is not a simple passing of seconds, but an opportunity for transformation. Every moment, even those that seem without purpose, can be like the wind that turns the blades of a windmill, transforming the energy of life into something useful and meaningful. Purpose is not found by searching for something, but by transforming the time you already have into something valuable for yourself and for others. Kenji, on his deathbed, called his disciples to gather around him. The oldest of them all, the one who had been Kenji's first disciple, asked him with sadness, "Master, what is the last lesson you leave us? What should we do now that you are leaving, and the time of your wisdom is running out?" Kenji, with a serene smile and his eyes almost closed, asked him to bring his brush and inkwell, the same one Master Kaido had given him so many years ago. The inkwell was almost empty, with barely a drop of ink at the bottom. With his trembling hand, Kenji took the brush, carefully dipped it in that last drop, and painted a perfect circle on a sheet of paper. It was the Enso, the circle of enlightenment. "This is my last lesson," Kenji whispered. "Time does not run out. It only changes form. My time here has ended, but the echo of my teachings will endure in your hearts. Value every moment, because each moment is an opportunity for perfection, to complete your own circle, to create your own Enso. Time is not infinite, but the essence of your being, your art, and your wisdom can be." After saying this, Kenji closed his eyes and passed away in peace. His disciples, upon seeing the perfect circle on the paper, understood the final lesson. Life is a single brushstroke. If it is lived with attention, with love, and with purpose, that stroke, though brief, can be the greatest work of art of all.